Attack on Titan Season 4 Episode 20, titled Memories of the Future. In the last episode of Attack on Titan, we had one of the craziest episodes in the entire series, with the war against Marley and Paradis reaching its climax. We had Zeke use his scream, which resulted in the hundreds of military members turning into pure titans, effectively turning the battle in his and Eren's favour. Falco being one of those unfortunate people who turned into a titan and would end up being saved by Galliard, who sacrificed himself. Colt would end up dying while in his brother's grasp, and Eren would have his head blown off by Gabi in an attempt to stop Zeke and Eren from obtaining the power of the founding titan. But despite everyone's effort, the two would succeed and end up in the mysterious paths alongside Ymir Fritz, also known as the founding titan. This is where Zeke would end up being betrayed by Eren, although this betrayal was all within Zeke's expectations, as he reveals he's nullified the vow renouncing war and now has control of the founding titan. So last week was just a pure roller coaster, and now in today's episode we get many important answers to questions we didn't even know we had. So today I'm going to be breaking down and analysing this latest episode of Attack on Titan, while clearing up some things you guys might have missed or weren't sure about. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Attack on Titan content. However, let's get right into the episode. With the beginning of episode 20, we get a trip down memory lane with Eren and Zeke, witnessing Grisha's life following Eren's birth. In the last episode, Zeke told Eren that despite his betrayal, he wants to save his brother, and that Eren is a victim of their father's brainwashing just as he was. So when Zeke said that he wanted to fix Eren with the Founder's power, this is what he intended. The only way to let Eren see the error of his ways, which Zeke believes is purely because of how Grisha raised him, is for Eren to see the type of man Grisha was for himself, hence why the two are looking through Grisha's memories. And for those who are purely confused as to how something like this is possible, with the founding titan being the coordinate which connects every single Eldian, it only makes sense that something like this is within the founding titan's power. But continuing on, Zeke and Eren are spectating through Grisha's memories, and Zeke keeps trying to project this image of the Grisha he knew onto Eren, but it wasn't working. And Zeke slowly realizes that Grisha was just a different man from when he was in the burial with his new family. He didn't force his ideals and beliefs onto Eren the same way he did with Zeke, so wanting to believe that what he had seen so far was just a ruse, he continued going through Grisha's memories with Eren. And since we know time isn't a concept in the paths, Zeke was taking all the time he needed. Roughly around the time when we get to the memory of Grisha using his position as a doctor to gain info on the royal family within the walls, Eren attempts to play along with Zeke, claiming he's no longer brainwashed, in a pretty sarcastic manner. So Zeke, knowing what's going on, shuts down this play by Eren, but the reason Eren was doing this was because he saw this whole process Zeke was going through as pointless, which it was. And this was also what Eren said before Zeke even took him into Grisha's memories, that he should stop, it's pointless. And these words and actions actually become significant later on in the episode. As Eren and Zeke continue through Grisha's memories, we see him living a normal life with his family while continuing his mission as an Elden restorationist ever so slowly, since we come to learn that years before Grisha even stole the founding titan, he knew of the location of the King of the Walls and the royal family. However, he didn't act on it straight away, as he generally prioritized his family over his mission since entering Paradis, which was completely the opposite of how Grisha was on Marley, which naturally left a bad taste in Zeke's mouth, seeing the change in the father he hated so much. But right around this time in Grisha's memories, Zeke starts to notice that something is off. While Grisha is in his basement, he suddenly wakes up shouting Zeke's name while looking in his direction. He even states there's no way that this old bearded man could be Zeke, which is much to the surprise of Eren and Zeke. It's as if he can see them even though they aren't there, or he was at least conscious of them, despite the fact that this would have been taking place when Zeke was a teenager and Eren was still a child. So this whole situation is just confusing for everyone involved. Now I'll just glaze over the next memories, as it's pretty much Zeke still trying to persuade Eren that his father made him the way that he is, but upon witnessing the memories for himself, Zeke realizes that this wasn't the case, and Eren further pushes the fact, saying that he's always been like this ever since he was born. Zeke won't find the little brother he desires in Eren, and that Zeke is being haunted by his dead father even to this day. Which is true, so to speak, since Zeke is literally living his life out to deny everything his father stood for ever since the day he told on his parents to Marley. And upon acknowledging the fact that Grisha didn't brainwash Eren, he says that he thanks Grisha because his actions allowed him to realize the threat of the Eldians, which is currently Eren, as he doesn't believe in the euthanization plan. However, Zeke still doesn't want to give up on saving his brother. Now it's time to dive into the main part of the episode, where we actually get an insane revelation that explains a lot of the confusing parts of the episode. When Grisha arrives at the cave where the royal family holds their transference of the founding titan, we see him pleading with Frieda Fritz, Historia's older sister and the previous holder of the founding titan, to kill the titans outside the wall and to save humanity. Naturally, she declines since she is restricted by the vow to renounce war, and this is where we end up getting the huge revelation that the attack titan has the power to see the future. To be exact, to see the memories of his future holder, as far as Grisha understands it. He also knows that Frieda was unaware of this fact because she can't use the full power of the Founding Titan freely. So to try and explain this as best as possible, which I know is very confusing, the wielders of the Attack Titan can see the future. However, it's very clear that they are limited to only seeing certain parts of the future and not the whole thing. This is supported by the fact that Grisha, after the events in the cave, said, "Eren, why won't you show me everything?" implying the fact that he can't see everything, only what he's shown. And this whole development of the Attack Titan being able to see the future can even be related as far back to season 3, when we saw Eren Kruger preparing to be eaten by Grisha. He said the words, "To save Mikasa, Armin and everyone, you must see it through." But this was way before Mikasa and Armin were even born, and when Grisha questioned him saying, "Mikasa, Armin, who is that?" Kruger responded saying, "Who knows? I'm not sure. Whose memories are those?" So in the easiest way to put it, the past was being affected by the future, and Eren in the future was showing Grisha memories that would manipulate the way he would act, so they could reach this point where him and Zeke would obtain the power of the Founding Titan. And after learning of this, many more scenes in this episode start to make sense, and Grisha's odd behavior, from screaming Zeke's name and looking at him even though he wasn't actually there, Grisha looking at the future Eren when he said he was sure Eren was in the basement even though future Eren isn't actually there, him hugging Zeke and telling him to stop Eren, it was due to the fact that he was seeing the future. Meaning that what's currently happening in the paths in real time, with the whole process of going through Grisha's memories, Eren effectively was able to use that to manipulate the past, even showing Grisha himself in third person from the future Eren's perspective, which is why he would be seeing Zeke at times, which if you'd noticed was always when Zeke and Eren were on opposite sides. Honestly, the whole thing is definitely trippy and confusing to grasp at first, but I hope my explanation on that was alright. So definitely ask any questions you have on it down below, and I'll try my best to clear it up more, since I know some people are going to be completely lost after this episode, which is completely understandable. So now that Grisha has explained that the Attack Titan can see the future and is here to resist the self-righteousness of the king, he prepares to kill Frieda and the royal family, and although he initially tells himself he can't do it and that he can't bring himself to kill children, he ends up being manipulated by Eren, who tells him to stand and fight. And a nice bit of symbolism here, which is something I never initially realized, was Grisha stabbing his left hand with his scalpel, since that's the same hand that effectively started his story, when he grabbed and took his sister outside the Liberia or internment zone. So after Grisha kills the royal family and takes the Founding Titan, we see him completely hysterical after everything that just happened, as he begs for Eren to show him more and apologizes to Zeke for being a terrible father, as he says he loves him and that he should stop Eren. And just another thing to add, this scene where you see Eren kissing his story Titan in season 3, which was the first time he actually saw the events of this episode, completely changed everything for him, and for obvious reasons. And with that, we come to the end of the episode. Episode 20 was a spectacular episode as usual for Attack on Titan, and I really liked the direction Mappa took for this episode. Grisha's voice actor performance was absolutely insane, the scene with Eren telling him to stand and fight, just everything about this episode was amazing, so I'm definitely giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Even though this episode was seriously information heavy, and I mean seriously, I hope I did a good job of explaining what was really going on in the episode. But it is a lot to take in, so feel free to ask any questions, and I'll do my best to explain it further. But with that being said, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Attack on Titan content. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers, and I always appreciate the support you guys are showing on the videos. Also, let me know what your thoughts were on everything happening in the episode, and what you'd rate out of 10. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.